Hey, howdy, and welcome all to the Big and Bright Podcast. My name is Nick, and this here on the screen with me is James.
Howdy.
Sure,
I
do
hate
all
your
the
hat.
algorithmic things and like, subscribe, share, make a comment, show your love for the great state of Texas, and by liking this podcast, because man, we're really excited to be here with you. I know it's been a bit. Welcome, by the way, to the coronavirus remembrance special of the Big and Bright Podcast, where we're reliving sort of the worst time in everybody's life by doing this online. So I'm actually at my house. You can see the wonders of my closet behind me and my bookcase and all that. James is I don't know, somewhere. I think in a storage bin somewhere.
I'm in a closet at home.
There you go. Nonetheless, we are excited to be here with you. Got a lot to talk about, lot to discuss. Some older stuff, some older news that we want to cover, and then getting into what's going to be happening in the future, which is going to be the amendments that are going to be on the ballot in November. You should definitely be watching for that. First and foremost, guys, got to talk about the most important thing. Your Texas Rangers are still number one in the AL West. They just got swept. They got swept by the Brewers. They sucked. Fortunately, the Astros also sucked, and they're still 2.5 games up. But what we might be concerned with, and this is a big thing for even you, James, even you will be concerned about this. There's another team that's creeping their way up in the AL West and might make the playoffs, knocking out both the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros.
Who's that?
The Seattle Mariners. Like, Texas might get bumped out by Seattle. They're playing that good since the All-Star break. So
Wow.
there are real problems on the horizon, friends. We really need to be concerned about that.
Well, with Seattle, I mean, couldn't a protest kind of screw them all up? So
I
just
would
drum
say
up some pretend, issue
summer of
and have
love,
them
baby.
protest.
Summer of love, baby. That's all we need. Just another one of those. And then the Mariners they'll be a thing of the past. Speaking of sports, though, we do want to talk about something that happened. What was this? A couple months ago, wasn't it?
In June it
like
did.
In June, yeah. With the equality of I don't know what the name of the sports is. I just call it the Riley Gaines Act, or the Equality in Women's Sports Act. I think it is.
I will help out, Nicholas. It is the Save Women's Sports Act. It was passed in June, or signed by Governor Abbott in June. For those who may not remember or care, it's sad we have to put something like this in place, but welcome to our world.
Yep.
It signed into legislation that bans trans athletes from participating in collegiate sports teams that match their gender identities. Focus is on the biological sex and what it says on your birth certificate. They define sex. Again, we live in a crazy, crazy time where we have to define this, but it says in the most lawyerly fashion possible, sex that was, quote, entered on or near the time of the student's birth.
Yep.
Wow.
On or near the time.
Wow.
I'm gonna go ahead and say on the time. I don't think I don't think there's ever been a doctor that was born. I guess I'll say this. I don't think there's ever been a doctor that was practicing before the date of 2016 that did not instantly assign the sex of a child, because it's that easy.
Yeah.
No, this is a really interesting thing. I think that one thing that I love about our beloved governor is he does know the subtle troll. He loves it. And so what did he do? He signed the bill at Texas Women's University, which is crazy for two reasons. One, because it's Texas Women's University and you need to defend women's sports. My wife actually graduated from Texas Women's University, so very proud moment for her. But also, do you know where Texas Women's University is? It's in Denton. It's in Denton, Texas.
Yes.
If you want to drum up some protests for a bill like this, Denton, Texas will be the place it'll happen, man. Denton, Texas.
Oh, they did.
Small Austin. Oh, yeah.
They did. There was people surrounding it with blowhorns, screaming at the actual women by men who are pretending to be women. So we're back to just catcalling. That's a weird transition there. But we're back.
Crazy. Yeah, no, it's nuts, right? We've gone full circle. We're back to the way it was. So here's a fun fact, okay? The women's World Cup team, right, lost to Sweden. Hallelujah.
Oh, no.
I'm super happy, right?
So
they lost to Sweden this year. But before you feel bad, for the U.S. women's team, consider this. The winner of the Women's World Cup, which was Spain this year. I don't know how I know that, but I do.
I'm kind of weirded out. You know that.
Spain won the Women's World Cup. They made $4 million in prize money for winning the Women's World Cup. The Women's United States team lost in the round of 16. You want to know how much money they made?
How much?
$7.5 million. Now, James, why on earth would a team that lost in the round of 16 make more money than the team that won the whole thing? I think it might be because the men also won a game in the round of 16. They actually lost in the quarterfinals, and they split their prize money as per the new collective bargaining agreement. They split their prize money with the women. So the men split their prize money down the middle, and still the women's team got $7.5 million.
Okay, so what I just said about Governor Abbott signing this bill, I think I'm now against it, because if I can get a great pay raise for a participation trophy, I think I can be a female too. I don't know anything about soccer, but I think I can kick a few of those butts.
That's what I'm saying. I'm really excited that feminism has brought us back full circle to where the men are going out and working, and the women sit home and watch Ellen and lose and still get paid $7.5 million because their men showed up to work. That's what I'm proud of, right?
Bringing home the bacon.
But yeah, no, we did. In Texas, we finally said, hey, enough of this nonsense. This is all silly and stupid. If you're a man, if you're a woman, you're a woman.
It just, again, really highlights, because there's been a small advocacy group that's grown across the United States. I know a few states, I think California, shocker, is one of these that actually allow this, to change your birth certificate, basically trying to go back and just do retroactively, I was a female from birth, period.
Yeah.
No, this is another reason why you shouldn't be allowed to, because you are who you are. You want to change your identity, go ahead, but you can't pretend like your life beforehand doesn't exist. I mean, even us as Christians, Nick, we all recognize our past, but we recognize we're living a new life, but we don't get to just go away with the past. That's not how that works. You're forgiven. It's not forgotten.
That is very true.
And the weird thing here with GLAAD, which if you don't know who they are, they're a bunch of nonsense people. They're a nonprofit organization focused on LGBTQIAPCQ. I don't know if they want to keep adding letters. Yeah. They said the word biological boy in this bill is actually a term anti-trans activists use to disregard and discredit transgender girls and deny them access to society as their authentic gender identity. This brings up a point you were talking about. We were one night, I believe, it was at a Bible study beforehand. Of course, we get political beforehand. Yeah. And I forget who you're talking about. It could have been a friend, could have been a family member. I don't want to out them if I'm right either way. But they were asking you, how would you feel if someone called you a girl? And because about the whole misgendering pronoun thing. And you said, well, I don't care. The reason is, I know it's not true.
No, it's not true. Yeah, exactly.
The reason you're mad is because you know it's true that you're a boy pretending to be a girl, a caricature of a woman, because that's how all women should look, and your mask makeup and all the big wigs, all the crap they put on.
I'm really happy because I had chicken for dinner last night, and it wasn't salty enough. I'm running low in the salt in my house, and so I'm just glad that Abbott was able to supply this salt. So I'll never go hungry again. I'm super excited.
He delivered.
As somebody I played high school sports in Texas. So did all three of my sisters. In fact, I have three younger sisters who all won state championships in the state of Texas. And they'll all tell you, like, there's no way I would be able to do that if I had even men on that team, on the other team, would be absolutely detrimental to my chances to get this success. And I had a sister that went on a full ride scholarship to SMU for soccer because of that state championship. That opportunity is not there for her if you've got boys playing on girls teams. So I really think that we do. I mean, and you need to respect women athletes. And this is a way to respect women athletes. And then you've got great women athletes out there. You got Serena Williams, you got Venus Williams, right? Other people, I think.
There is one person you're totally forgetting, which I'm kind of surprised, because this person was actually a winner and an athlete against men, and that's Bruce Jenner. I mean, he is the
That's right.
greatest female athlete
Bruce
to ever
Jenner, the
exist.
greatest female athlete ever. It's
Just killing it in decathlons. He didn't care the other men were bigger and stronger. She did it.
he
He
did it.
did it. I don't
She
know.
did it. But yeah, guys, I think that's a real. This is one of those things that it's a shame we have to have the conversation, but we should be very proud of our state for saying, nope, we're not doing this. We're not going
Yeah,
down this road.
we're done with your crazy. We're not putting up with this. You want to call us whatever? It sucks. We have to put this definition. Like I said earlier, don't care. We're putting it in. You can't get around it now. Move out. Bye bye.
Speaking of crazy and being bad at sports, Baylor University.
Oh,
Baylor University got into some hot water with the alphabet people recently because of a religious exemption to a Title IX specification, something like that. Oh, hey!
see my dog?
Look at that.
She wants to be a part of the show.
We have a mascot here in the Big and Bright podcast.
Yeah, what Baylor? Okay, the essential what Baylor did is they asked the DOJ to dismiss complaints allegedly filed by
the DOE, not the DOJ.
I'm sorry, DOE, Department of Education. You're correct. Complaints by the alphabet people that the university said were inconsistent with the institution's religious values.
So here's the thing. I've always understood Title IX to be a sports thing. Whenever I hear about Title IX, I'm always thinking about women's sports. So when I heard this idea, so basically I heard this from a pastor. I'm going to call her a pastor. It's a she who was recently elevated to a senior pastorate role, which isn't a pastor in my opinion. But nonetheless, she was saying from the pulpit that this was Baylor University saying that it was now okay to sexually harass LGBTQ students on campus. Is that true? Is that what Baylor said?
No, not at all.
I didn't think so, because, when you hear that, you immediately think there might be more to this.
Yeah.
So what exactly about Title IX are they exempting themselves from? I'm not.
I can read Title IX in full. It's one sentence.
Yep.
No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be the or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. They have 3 massive paragraphs to explain the law, and this includes sexual harassment based on sexual orientation now, which we can thank Neil Gorsuch for writing in the Bostock case.
Yeah. So essentially what it seems like is that Baylor is saying, hey, we as a religious institution we are not going to affirm homosexual marriage. They think that's discrimination under Title IX, and Baylor's claiming religious exemption.
Correct.
I think that's about as close as I can get.
Well, the biggest claim that was made in 2021, which of course is the reason that caused all this hubbub, because you have a person who's well connected or a person who's looking to be offended. I know it's shocking to find those people, and they're making a whole thing about it. And what happened apparently is that this student at Baylor, Miss Penales, found sticky notes with homophobic slurs on her dorm room door. And she said she received similar comments from peers on social media. And Baylor did nothing to address the harassment.
You smell that?
What's that?
You smell that?
What's that? What does that smell?
It smells like bleach and hemp rope and wait, that's a Subway sandwich.
The Subway sandwich.
That's what it smells like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It sounds kind of similar to the
very Smoulier. Very Smoulier-esque.
It has a very, very, very hoaxy vibe going on here. Yeah, I don't believe her one bit. Come on, you kidding me? Is her story
even relevant? Let's assume for a moment that it is true, okay? And I don't think it's true either. I think just because people don't do that, like this seems like a caricature of what an LGBTQ person thinks a hate crime is like, right?
Yes.
That's why I don't believe her. But let's assume that it's true. Is that in any way relevant to the Title IX?
No, it's not.
Because so is Baylor changing anything about their sexual harassment policy?
No, they're still very welcoming to anyone who wants to be a part of their school. But again, it's Baylor Baptist University. I
Mm.
don't know why you're shocked that they have a pretty hard line on, yeah, we're not too big on the gay thing.
Yeah,
Or the rest of your magic flag that keeps, for some reason, getting more and more unicorn vomit all over it.
you're not kidding. So this is basically Christian University is Christian.
Basically, yes.
End of discussion.
Basically. Yeah, no, it's to me, I don't believe her one bit. I'll share a few articles from different hoaxes that happened because I was talking to you about this, Nick. Um, there was one as a black student wrote his own racist messages on his own dorm room door in word, classical racial
Sure.
slurs, and they were saying Air Force is racist. They're not doing anything about it. Turns out he did it himself. Shocker. And I mean, honestly, I was in college too. Who put sticky notes? If Baylor is so behind them, why don't they just say it to your face?
Yeah,
Like if it's as bad as this person's claiming, then I have no repercussions. I'm going to call you all the bigoted slurs that I want to, and no, I have nothing to worry about. But
exactly.
they didn't. They left post-it notes and on social media. You can't block them on social media. Get out of here. Who's okay? Also, who's really chasing someone out because they're gay? Who really cares?
Yeah.
Especially they're likely the same age as you, which is similar. I mean, maybe not to me and you, Nick. We're kind of old now, but I would say maybe 7 years older, younger than us. Our generation may do something like that, but
Maybe.
we still really wouldn't care. It's like, oh, he's gay. Okay, he's not
Yeah.
bothering me. I don't know why you're worried about.
Especially, I mean, because now, I mean, Gen Z's in college, which
Yeah,
holy Moses, doesn't that make you feel so
well, I'm
old,
old.
right? Yeah. Gen
I
Z's
got to
in college
pretend
now.
by going to law school and pretend it's like, well, I'm just as young as them. Then asking everybody their age, going, oh, I'm the old guy. Got
Yeah. You
it.
think Gen Z, you mean legit, you think Gen Z is doing this kind of stuff?
No,
Calling people out for homosexuality? No, I don't get it. The point
no.
is this is just an economic problem, right? The supply is severely underwhelming when you have the demand, and so you got to bring that up.
You got to
But
pretend there's a bunch of homophobic slurs all around the corner. Everybody's hating on you. No one hates you. No one cares.
and of course
You care.
it's got to be in Texas too, right?
Has to
Because
be.
Texas is like you've got to target Texas at this point, and you got to target Texas because I don't know if you know this, but you know who's also on the ballot. I believe you know who's also on the ballot in 2024. It's not just Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's Ted Cruz and probably another Beto O'Rourke run.
Nope.
And so
It is Colin Allred. That is who running against him. He is a representative for, I believe, the Dallas district.
mm,
He's running against him, and he will lose very badly.
you think Colin Allred will lose, or you think Ted Cruz will lose?
Oh, Colin Allred. Do
Really?
not. I think he's attached himself too much to the hip of what Biden's agenda is,
Mm.
and all Cruz has to go is, yeah, he's a part of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a part of that. He also has a huge war chest. Don't forget, Ted Cruz has been there for a while. But he has a huge war chest. So whether or not Colin Allred may have some gimmicks, he will outspend him. Cruz will outspend Allred. But also, the other thing that may go in the favor of giving it more of a tight race, Governor Abbott is not on the ballot this time, which is kind of what did help Cruz in the 2018 thing with Beto.
see, that's what I'm thinking. You're not getting the headwinds that Abbott gave him. Also, Beto O'Rourke was a far more polarizing character than this guy because I knew who Beto O'Rourke was, and I have no idea who this guy is.
Exactly. He's been running for a few months now.
Sure.
Exactly.
And three, you've also got the. I mean, you've got the. You have the Mexico vacation, right? There's been a. I mean, Ted Cruz has been in a lot of hot water for a while now. So I don't know. But the point is that at this point, whether or not he's going to lose, I think that the Democrats perceive somebody like Ted Cruz to be one of the more vulnerable candidates out there. So
Yes.
they're going after Texas quickly with stuff like Baylor University.
He's not even from Baylor. He went to Houston.
Yeah, which is that really a part of Texas? Like, are we really?
Where he lives,
Yeah.
that part of Houston's all good.
Anyway, we got some other things to talk about. We do need to talk about the.
What else is going to be on the ballot there, Nick? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was going to say we do need to talk about the bills that are coming up. It's not bills, it's amendments. Gosh, man,
Yep.
I'm losing it. Right, it's the amendments to the Texas Constitution that are coming up, and there are several of them. Right, as a matter of fact,
Yes.
last count there are 14
Correct.
propositions that you are going to go vote on. I would highly suggest that you go and you actually look at these propositions and what they are, because when you vote in 2023, which you, by the way, should do, you should know what exactly it is that you are voting for. And there's some stuff that's pretty banal.
Nick,
What?
you're right. It's 2023. I misread.
Did I say 20? What did I say?
You said 2023. I was thinking 2024. My brain was still in election mode.
You're
I
wrong.
screwed up.
You, sir,
Nick,
I admonish you. You're wrong.
a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then.
I just pay attention, right? I pay attention to my notes. No, but we've got some pretty banal things, like, for example, Proposition 1, establishing the right to farming and ranching, timber production, horticulture, and wildlife management on owned or leased personal property, right? Which is just, to me, like, the fact that that's not already in the Texas Constitution, the fact that we need to put that in as an amendment is crazy. But we've, of course, got the big one, Proposition 4. We've talked about it several times on this particular channel, which is lowering the property taxes lowering your property taxes on your November ballot. Now, how did they do it? They went with option number 2, the middle of the run option. I believe this is the option that the Senate originally proposed, because there was a Senate bill and there was a House bill, and the Senate bill was basically saying, "Hey, we want to maximize or up the we want to up the property tax." What is the word I'm looking for? Deduction, right?
For homestead.
The homestead exemption. That's what I'm looking for. They wanted to increase the homestead exemption to $100,000, which is ultimately what they ended up going with. Now, the House bill was the better bill, right? If you actually look at what was on them, the House bill actually said, no, we're going to put a cap on the income, or rather the property tax rates, and we're going to do some serious adjustments to how we fund schools, right? Which is really what you need to do. I mean, if you just think about how you balance a budget, right? You go after the amount of it. You say, hey, we're going to have to take a hit on the amount of income, and we need to find a way to make that work, right? As opposed to saying, well, I'll just go out and get a better job. You can't necessarily do that in your own house, but in government, they don't need to get a better job. They can just tax more. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so the way that if you're a responsible government employee, what you need to do is you need to say, hey, we're going to reduce the amount of income that we're getting in, and we're just going to deal with it because we're the government and that's our job. But no, there's no way.
Hold on. Hold on. Did you just say a responsible government employee? You know that doesn't exist, right?
I can dream, man.
I guess you're dreaming
I can
big.
conceive of one. Unicorns don't exist, but I could describe them to you.
Right? Yes.
That's the thing, is you have to have a situation where you say, hey, we're going to take a hit to the amount of income that we're doing. But you don't want to do that because the teachers unions would absolutely lose their minds. So you do the next best thing, which is you go after the exemption, right? You say, okay, we're going to increase the exemption, so you're going to get a good hit. Now, immediately, this is actually going to help you out. If you live in Texas, you're going to see, and you own a home, you're going to see a big deduction on your taxes this year. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's a very election year type bill to pass, right? Because it's going to be really awesome, really quick, but ultimately that's going to catch up. The problem with this is you have to keep kicking the can down the road. We're going to have to revisit the exemption in the future because that's the way these exemptions work. They don't keep up with inflation. As the currency keeps inflating, and also, by the way, tax rates go up because they haven't capped the tax rate because they didn't go with the House bill. You're going to see tax rates go up. You're going to see inflation go up. And, of course, you're going to have those teachers asking for more and more money and those school districts asking for more and more money. And eventually, they're going to have to do this again. So they're just going to have to keep re-amending the Constitution to increase that exemption so that we don't feel like we're spending as much money because we're being exempted on our homestead. Now,
it's basically the weakest Band-Aid you can put on a wound.
100%, yeah. But the other option would be to put a cap on, for example, the property value rates, right? Which is the absolute worst way to do it, because then, yes, you'd be paying less in taxes, but also your equity would suffer and your net worth, right? If you own a home, the house that you sit in has a certain value, and the value that you owe versus the value that your house is worth, that's part of your net worth. And when you devalue the properties by utilizing the tax appraisal district and putting regulations there, you're hurting people's net worth, right? So they're paying less taxes, but it's the sacrifice of their own financial health. So that's the worst option. They didn't go with that. I'm happy about that. I'll take it for now. It's fine. I think you should vote yes on it for what it's worth. I think you should vote yes, and then on the side, right, you should have gone with the House bill, you stupid people. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. So
Yeah, I have issues with the can kicking down the road, but I'm with you on it. It's like, well, at least it was the better of the two crappy sandwiches they gave us, so I'll take it.
yeah.
There's some other propositions on here. I just want to kind of mention a cool, fun note here, though. There's a link that we're going to give you in the description. But did you know, Nick, that how the Texas government works when it comes to these constitutional amendments for us to vote on, that the Texas Secretary of State's office actually draws lots to determine what order they're going to appear on the ballot?
How do you even draw lots?
You have however many propositions, you put those numbers in a hat, and that number, according to that proposition, well, that's now 2, that's 3. That's what they do. They literally put it in a hat and just,
That's dumb.
roll some dice and who gets to draw it.
The last time that anyone ever drew lots was the Book of Acts.
Went pretty well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you don't know the story,
no, it worked well in Acts. It didn't work well in Jonah. That's what it is. It didn't work well. Anyway, point being, let's go ahead and break down one other thing, because I got my moment to talk about the thing that I like to talk about. Why don't you talk about something that you like a lot, which is teachers' retirement fund? That's proposition.
That's one of them. I have another one I want to talk about. How are we doing good on time, Nicholas?
We're doing.
We're not doing great on time.
Probably need to wrap it up, but
yeah. So let's talk about the one I actually care about, which is Proposition 13.
Sure.
That raises the ages allowed to be a judge in Texas from 75 to 79. I like this because I do not think that you should have an age limit. I get you'll have a potential President Biden and it'll screw it all up, but you also have a potential for a Clarence Thomas, and that's beautiful. So age is just a number. If you're qualified, you're qualified. I have a boss who's in his late 70s. He's still very much sharp as a tack, but he's barred from ever being a judge because of his age, even though he can run circles around most judges and most lawyers that we go against.
Are we talking about, so this is Texas, this is district judges or Supreme Court?
Texas judges.
Okay, so all Texas judges, there is a cap on when they can be nominated as a judge, or there's like a retirement cap?
Retirement cap. 75 is the age right now. It's going to go to 79 if it gets approved.
75 is the age right now. Okay, so the amendment is to bump it up to 79.
Correct.
Yeah, I'd vote yes on this amendment. I think that's fine. I think you're absolutely out of your mind if you think there shouldn't be any age limit at all. So I get it, right? You've got your story, and you have your Andy. Oh, my grandpappy's sharp as a tack, and he's 175 years old, right? All that kind of stuff. I understand. That's fine. We're talking about the law of averages here, and we're talking about judges. You know what's really important about judges? They're really hard to get rid of once you've elected them, right?
But they've also got there by being tenured and know what they're doing. I know not always, but in the majority, they know what they're doing.
I get it, but I will tell you, the likelihood of senility when you get older, especially when you get to the age of 79, first of all, it happens like that, right? Especially when you have certain types of senility that are actually mental diseases, right? Those sorts of things can happen very quickly, and you might not even notice it until it's too late. Well, here's the deal. If you have a judge that's difficult to get rid of, maybe they're a little bit stubborn, they don't want to lose their independence, and they've ruled on 5, 6, 7 cases at this particular point, and they don't have all their mental faculties there because nobody's noticed, because they're 79 years old. How many people are you putting in prison based on that? And by the way, how do you even adjudicate that later? If you take that to an appellate court, right? How are you going to, what are you going to do with that?
Pull the record.
And I
Listen,
understand.
look at what the judge said.
And I
They're not
understand.
company
Okay, but
thoughts.
you're now talking about tax dollars that are going into that. You're talking about
No, no,
extended litigation.
no, 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 no.
Yes.
No, because that would be a civil suit brought by a citizen that would be using the courts that are already available. They're
Okay.
already there.
You're
That
now
doesn't. You're not. An extra case does not add extra tax dollars. They're already there to adjudicate matters for Texas. Period.
point being, judges are really hard to get rid of. Judges have a lot of power. And I understand that there are plenty of old people out there, right, that do nothing but eat McDonald's and Diet Coke, and they're still just as spry as they ever were, right? I get
Beautiful
it.
color of orange.
I get
Beautiful.
it that those people exist. I understand. We're talking about a law of averages here because this isn't the president of the United States. The president of the United States is the most visible character in American politics. Texas judges can easily go under the radar. And if you have a situation where a judge isn't all there and doesn't have their right reason about them because they're too old and nobody's noticing because we don't necessarily pay attention to Texas judges as much, now you've got a major problem on your hands. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think it should be 75. I think 75, again, I'd actually have to look at when you start to see onset senility and what that age is. But I think you should go based on that, right? No, don't go based on, well, some people are really smart. Yeah, I get it. Some people are sharp all the way into old age, but not everybody does that. So
We're all individuals, Nick. We don't get to have a bar of a number one way or the other. I think.
but we're not talking about individuals. We're talking about a
Then
specific
how come? Then hold
topic.
on. Why do you still get to be a lawyer until you die? Because you do in Texas. There's no age cap there. You get to try cases, do ridiculous things, possibly get ridiculous rulings based on your senility.
Sure.
No one questions that.
I mean, there maybe should.
You're an officer of the court.
A lawyer is employed, technically employed by a private firm. It's not always necessarily employed by the state. But if you wanted to say, hey, like public defenders, you want to put an age cap on public defenders, I don't have a problem with that.
Same for prosecutors. Nothing.
Well, again, I wouldn't
They're
have
the
a problem
state.
with that. If I'm making a case as to why that is versus isn't, I would say probably because judges actually hold a lot more power as far as making the decisions than lawyers do, and lawyers can do all kinds of crazy, weird stuff. But if a lawyer is not in his right mind, he's probably just going to lose the case. As opposed to a judge, if he's not in his right mind, he could potentially adjudicate the case the wrong way. So I think first of all, again, I'm with you. I think that if you got public defenders and public prosecutors, sure, put an age cap on them. Doesn't matter. That wouldn't bother me at all. But if you're going to make a case for why judges and not lawyers, that's what I would say. But no, again, I think what we should do is, and I mean, there's data on this. There's data as to when people start to sort of lose things like memory function and cognitive ability, stuff like that as they age. We should figure out what the average is on that, and we should base it on that. I think it'd probably be a little older than 79. It's my completely unqualified medical opinion, but I think it'd be older. I think it'd be older than 75. So I'm okay with bumping it to 79. You can go ahead and vote yes on that proposition. But if you think there shouldn't be an age cap at all, you're out of your mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well.
Point being, there's a lot of crazy cool stuff. We don't have a ton of time to talk about it, but a lot of other governors are now coming to help support us for Operation Lone Star. Really awesome stuff. I want to save that for next episode so that we have a little bit more time to talk about it in detail. That being said, friends, lots of good stuff on the horizon, but please go vote. That's the one message that if I could sort of cap it off here at the end, please go vote, because your vote is what makes our great republic what it is. Go vote, and go Rangers. We are the stars at night, and we are big and bright.
Big and bright.
We'll see you next week.